So, leading into the weekend and being my first review of anything after hitting 25,000 subscribers, thank you guys, I love you people. I thought something a little bit special for random review today, and this is special because this is G1 Blitzwing, my first G1 review on this particular series, and a triple changer no less, so I'm taking care of a few suggestions that come up often. Now, for those who've never heard it in any of my previous videos, because I've said it a few times, but I will say it every chance I get, Blitzwing is, hands down, my favorite character from Transformers G1. I love his little character arc in Five Faces of Darkness, where he turns against Galvatron for the greater good, finds some respect for the Autobots, and I was always so upset as a kid when he didn't turn up later as an Autobot himself. And I didn't find out until adulthood that his role basically went to Octane, where he would have eventually become a Decepticon again. But I love that it's left off the way it is. He just kind of stays in ambiguity. Maybe he joined the Autobots, maybe he just faded away. As it is, his last act in fiction, barring some animation errors that is to turn his gun on Galvatron and side against the Decepticons, even if he isn't technically siding with the Autobots. Because sometimes it's best to be known for one's enemies. Loved Blitzwing in Five Faces of Darkness. Seriously, go watch it. The animation's terrible for G1, even for G1 standards, but that part's really good. So we're going to talk about his toy now. Now, of course, he's one of the original triple changers. We have him here in the Japanese tank motif, looking quite good. It's very desert tan colored. Very nice. I will say, kind of basic in detail since it has to kind of work as both the tank and the jet mode that we will get to. They did get some detailing in there. You can see the hatches on top, presumably where a human would ride and find a very unfortunate demise inside a Decepticon. Some rivets around the turret, the actual piece, as well as the barrel, of course, because you have to have that. The details along the top are all very smooth beyond that. There's some scant molded detailing from the tank. And the treads are really not so much treads as they're just the shadow or the silhouette of treads going around the sides, painted in this gray paint just to kind of give it the illusion of being actual treads, because of course it has wheels. So this is a little bit strange. It's kind of flat as tanks go, but I do like it. It has the necessary detailing for a tank. It's not an H tank, so it actually makes sense. Slopes up front and back, and they did remember to mold in the treads on the front at least, so he does have some actual workings of a tank. Now, the rear does get a little bit messy, since you can clearly see the nose cone of his jet mode, but, we're not going to hold that against him. It's a G1 toy that was trying to do something pretty radical for engineering back then, trying to work two vehicle modes into a single figure. But I think the tank mode came out okay. You got the necessary playability for a tank. It does roll and does have a turret that rotates. So that's really all you need for a tank toy. So what about the jet? Let's get him into the jet mode. For that, we will pop the sides down and hang on. We'll clip them in there. Now we will flip him over where all this purple comes out. We'll also go back under, well, actually, let's go underneath again so I can actually show you how that flips out. Head. And we'll also flip out the landing gear. We'll also retract the barrel just to clean it up a little bit and move it forward so it kind of hides away a little bit more. And, you'll excuse me. We also have to rotate those parts out of the way in order to get the tail fins up. Sorry. It's an old toy, man. It's a little bit hard sometimes to keep track of everything going on. And there we go. And there we have Blitzwing in his jet mode, which now he's a Soviet-style jet, which is, it's kind of weird. Japanese tanks, Soviet jet. Oh, well, whatever works. We're playing both sides of the World War II here. So, as you can see, he's traded in much of the tan for bright purple. I really, really like the color change tricks that triple changers bring to the table. He's a very different looking vehicle than he was before. And I do like I do like how they dealt with all that bulk and sent it to the back of the vehicle. So the jet has this heavy combat look, but still manages to stay sleek and very jet-like in the front. Yes, the wings end up being quite thick and have a ton of machinery underneath. I his jet mode was so weird as a kid. I always thought he had like 4 wings, like he was double winged on both sides for some reason. I thought that looked really, really cool, and I was actually a little bit disappointed when I found out no, he's only supposed to have 2 wings. But whatever, I like the look of the jet mode. You know, even if the proportions are a little bit unrealistic, I think it looks cool. And they did remember the landing gear, so and the other landing gear is on the turret itself. It's just molded in. So it kind of just stands there. Oh, that's why I don't like. You actually he doesn't actually balance on them unless the turret's pointing back. But then you got this, which is like, I don't know. Am I shooting chasing planes, or is this like a massive exhaust pipe? I don't like that. Like, if you're just picking it up and play with it, just get it out of the way. Get out of the way. That looks nicer. You can also see the stickered parts from the jet mode, from the tank mode's front, rather. Now the backside of the thrusters, which are kind of molded on top. But here's where a lot of the detailing comes from the stickering, of course. Big arrows to kind of give it a fighter jet feel. Big Decepticon symbols, as well as some more traditional, your vents and your intakes and all that. At least they painted the cockpit, so there's a little bit of paint attention as well to this toy. And you can also see a little bit of die cast in those tail fins, which also have some stickering to give them a little bit more of a speedy, stylish jet look. Now, we can also arm him further because he has missiles, and it's G1, so that's as big as the missiles got, which can actually connect into here. This is the only mode where these are available, and fire with a button on the underside. Now, of course, we are not going to fire the missiles in this review because, as everybody knows, anytime you fire off a missile and it just kind of goes past you and you're not watching, a Mogwai jumps up, grabs it, turns into a gremlin, and runs off. I don't know why it happens. It just does. Try it sometime. It's actually kind of cute, really. So just take my word for it. And especially with these, because, man, that's tiny. Those get lost. In fact, the G1 toy comes with 3. One for each launcher and then a spare when you inevitably lose one of them. So that's a nice courtesy the G1 did fairly often. Let's get him into robot mode so we can actually see the full glory that is Blitzwing. We will flip the nose cone out, and now we'll actually use that robot mode head. Now, you can rotate these panels all the way up now to create the big shoulders. We'll rotate this up and slide it all the way up and hope friction holds it there for the duration of this review. The arms come out like so, and there's no real tab to do it with, so you just kind of have to hope that your fingernails are good enough. And in my case, yes, just good enough. The hands slide out with a little tab, so they're actually a little bit easier to get out than the arms themselves. And then we slide down the legs. Hope the friction holds up after about 30-odd years or so. And there we have it. That is Blitzwing in his robot mode. And as you can see, the jointage is a little bit worn over the years. Let me zoom in a little bit so you get a little bit better shot. There you go. Take in Blitzwing in his full kind of two-dimensional, strange arm-shaped glory. Let's try to adjust that a little bit so it doesn't look quite so silly. Yeah, he's interesting in this mode. I will say, like, almost all G1 triple changers suffered in one mode quite a bit in order to make the other 2 modes work, and not everyone is as lucky as, say, Astro Train to get around that somehow. Blitzwing's robot mode definitely suffers the brunt of his engineering. We'll give you a shot of the head, which is interesting because it's the only thing that's bright yellow on the entire toy, so it really stands out amongst the rest of his details. You see, it's pretty standard head. Like, visor look I like. Little dot there on the head, or like right there on the crest. So he looks okay. It's nothing like too extreme or too interesting, but it works for what it is. He has a little bit of G1 like seeker detailing going on here, this kind of fake nose cone on the chest. I always thought that was kind of interesting. But as you can see, detail-wise, since this is G1, most of the details carry over from the other modes, with I think really only the red stickers on the arms really being any new detailing of any sort that wasn't really, blatantly obvious in the other modes. Aside from just like how strange it is for his arms to just be kind of jutting out from the bulk of his torso, you'll also notice, yeah, that's unfortunate. He's using his tail fins as his feet, so he doesn't balance terribly well. You gotta have these kind of positioned just right and hope that they've held on to a little bit of their friction in the last 30 years to make sure he stands up right. It's always been like the downfall of the toy. It feels like there should be some feet that fold out a little bit more properly than this, but well, it is what it is. But you know what? It's G1, so a lot of it is forgivable. G1 pretty much depended on the transformations to be good in order to make the toy good, and it did do that, so we can't hold it against it too much. For accessories, we are going to load him up. Here is his sword, which you will notice is a little bit odd because the handle is sideways. And we'll go ahead and make him a lefty for this, because it's really the only way his other accessory will work. And we have to plug it into the side of the hand, which I always thought was very strange. Like, I'm not entirely sure why they couldn't just put the peg hole where it normally goes. It's kind of weird. This also means that he's got some of the few weapons that can't really be swapped with anyone else. I like the design of his gun, though. Like, he's got kind of an ammo clip thing there at the bottom. I'm not sure what that thing sticking up the top is, but it's really going to screw with the iron sight that's on it. But, whatever. I'll raise the arm up a little bit so we get a little bit of depth and you can see both weapons. And really, so it actually looks like he's holding his gun at somebody. So he can be properly armed. One melee weapon, one long-range weapon. And that's all well and good. And keep in mind, he does have those firing missiles in vehicle mode. So he does quite a bit for a G1 toy, aside from just the triple changing. Though, as you've probably noticed by now, not much in the articulation range. His arms at the shoulders can go up and down, and that's about it. And that's about the extent of the up and down they go. The limitations of G1. But I always kind of like G1's engineering. There's something very pure about it. Something very genuine. They're not trying to make any car makers happy by keeping the vehicle from looking too broken up, and they're just and they're not hiding anything behind panels or using the bulk for better or worse. And they're just quick and fun to play with. So that is G1 Blitzwing. One of my favorite of Transformer characters. Absolute favorite G1 character. In spite of having a toy that is giving me a little bit of a problem right now. Okay, there we go. I'll stay there. Very nice figure. Very nice for G1. Like, he's still fun to play with today despite the simplicity. If you want articulation, go buy the Generations version. Just don't expect a whole lot beyond that. Like, as like a diehard Blitzwing fan, I'm like really embarrassed by some of the things on that toy, which is why I've never reviewed it. But now I've reviewed, well, that's 2 Blitzwing toys I've reviewed over the years. I'm not sure he has any toys beyond that. Alright, Hasbro, make more Blitzwing. I need more Blitzwing in my life. We all do, really.